Ella stood at the edge of the cliff, her auburn hair whipping around her face in the salty breeze. The vast ocean stretched before her, its waves crashing against the rocks below. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, savoring the scent of freedom that seemed to permeate the air. This was it, her great escape, her chance to start anew. For years, Ella had lived a life carefully curated by others, the perfect daughter, the ideal student, the model employee. But beneath the polished exterior, a restless spirit yearned to break free. And so, on her 30th birthday, she had done the unthinkable. She'd quit her high-powered job, sold most of her possessions, and set out on a solo journey around the world. Ireland was her first stop, a land of myths and legends that had always called to her. As she stood on that windswept cliff, Ella felt a surge of exhilaration. For the first time in her life, she was truly free. A voice startled her from her reverie. "Careful there, lass. One strong gust and you'll be joining the selkies in the sea." Ella turned to find an old man watching her, his weathered face creased with concern. She stepped back from the edge, offering him a reassuring smile. "No worries, I was just enjoying the view." The old man nodded, his blue eyes twinkling. "Aye, 'tis a grand view indeed, but perhaps you'd like to see something even grander?" He gestured towards a narrow path winding down the cliff face. "Follow that trail, and you'll find a hidden cove. It's a magical place, especially at sunset." Intrigued, Ella thanked him and set off down the path. The descent was treacherous, loose rocks skittering beneath her feet, but the promise of discovery spurred her on. As she rounded a bend, the cove came into view, and Ella gasped. It was like stepping into a fairy tale. Smooth pebbles lined the shore, glinting in the fading sunlight. The cliffs curved around the cove, creating a secluded sanctuary. And there, in the center of it all, stood a man. He was facing the sea, his posture relaxed, yet somehow alert, like a sailor reading the winds. As if sensing her presence, he turned, and Ella felt her breath catch in her throat. He was striking, with dark hair that fell in tousled waves and eyes the color of storm clouds. But it was the intensity of his gaze that held her captive. He looked at her as if he'd been waiting for her all his life. "Hello," he said, his voice carrying a hint of an accent she couldn't quite place. "I was beginning to think I was the only one who knew about this place." Ella smiled, feeling suddenly shy. "An old man on the cliff told me about it. I hope I'm not intruding." He shook his head, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Not at all. I'm Liam, and you are?" "Ella," she replied, moving closer. "Do you come here often?" Liam's smile turned wistful. "Whenever I can. It's a good place to think, to remember." He paused, studying her. "But you're not from around here, are you?" Ella shook her head, explaining her impromptu world tour. As she spoke, Liam listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face. There was something about him, a quiet strength that put her at ease. They talked as the sun dipped lower on the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. Ella learned that Liam was a marine biologist, studying the local ecosystem. He spoke passionately about his work, his eyes lighting up as he described the intricate balance of life beneath the waves. As darkness fell, Liam offered to walk Ella back to her hotel. They climbed the cliff path together, their conversation flowing effortlessly. At the top, they paused, neither quite ready to say goodbye. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Liam asked, a note of hope in his voice. Ella nodded, her heart fluttering. "I'd like that." The next few days passed in a whirlwind of discovery. Liam became Ella's unofficial guide, showing her hidden gems that tourists rarely saw. They explored ancient ruins, hiked along breathtaking coastal paths, and shared pints in cozy pubs where traditional music filled the air. With each passing day, Ella felt herself falling deeper under Ireland's spell and Liam's. He was unlike anyone she'd ever met, combining a scientist's curiosity with a poet's soul. He challenged her to see the world in new ways, to question her assumptions and embrace the unknown. One evening, as they sat on the beach watching the sunset, Liam turned to her with a serious expression. "Ella, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart raced, equal parts excitement and trepidation. What is it? Liam took a deep breath. I haven't been entirely honest with you. I'm not just a marine biologist. I'm also, well, I suppose you could call me a guardian of sorts. Ella frowned, confused. A guardian of what? Of the sea and all its secrets, Liam replied, his voice low. You see, the old stories about selkies and merfolk, they're not just legends. There's truth in them, hidden beneath layers of myth and time. For a moment, Ella thought he must be joking, but the earnest look in his eyes told her otherwise. She should have been skeptical, should have laughed it off. Instead, she found herself believing him. After all, hadn't she come to Ireland seeking magic and adventure? Show me, she whispered. Liam's eyes widened in surprise, then softened with gratitude. He stood, offering her his hand. Come with me. He led her to the water's edge, where the waves lapped gently at their feet. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared below the horizon, Liam began to sing. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, in a language Ella didn't recognize but somehow understood in her soul. The water before them began to glow, a soft blue light emanating from beneath the surface. Ella watched in awe as shapes began to emerge, sleek, graceful forms that were neither fully human nor fully animal. Selkies, Liam explained softly. They're drawn to the song. As if in a dream, Ella stepped forward, the cool water swirling around her ankles. One of the selkies approached, its dark eyes regarding her with ancient wisdom. Slowly, reverently, Ella reached out to touch its smooth skin. In that moment, something shifted within her. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a world of wonder and possibility she'd never imagined. She turned to Liam, tears shimmering in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered, for showing me this. He smiled, taking her hand in his. This is just the beginning, Ella. There's so much more to see if you're willing. She nodded without hesitation. I am. The days that followed were filled with marvels. Liam introduced Ella to a hidden world that existed alongside the one she'd always known. She swam with dolphins that spoke in riddles, danced with fairy folk in moonlit glades, and learned the secret language of the tides. Through it all, her feelings for Liam deepened. He was her guide, her protector, her partner in this extraordinary journey. But as her time in Ireland drew to a close, Ella faced a difficult choice. Her round-the-world trip had always been meant as a temporary escape. She had a life waiting for her back home, a life that suddenly seemed pale and colorless compared to the vibrancy of her experiences here. On her last night in Ireland, Liam took her back to the hidden cove where they'd first met. They sat on the smooth pebbles, the sound of the waves a soothing backdrop to their conversation. I don't want to leave, Ella confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's arm tightened around her. Then don't, he said simply. She looked up at him, hope and fear warring in her heart. Is it that easy? He shook his head, his expression serious. No, it's not easy. The path I walk is often dangerous. There are those who would destroy the magic of this world, who see it as a threat or a resource to be exploited. Choosing to stay means choosing a life of secrecy and responsibility. Ella considered his words carefully. The sensible part of her, the part that had always played it safe, urged her to walk away, to return to the comfortable, predictable life she'd left behind. But a stronger voice, one that had been growing louder since she'd first set foot on Irish soil, whispered of destiny and true belonging. I choose you, she said firmly. I choose this life, with all its dangers and wonders. The joy that lit up Liam's face was like the sun breaking through storm clouds. He pulled her close, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. As they parted, a shimmering light caught Ella's eye. She turned to see a group of selkies emerging from the water, their sealskins draped over their shoulders. They approached, slowly, forming a circle around Ella and Liam. The oldest among them, a woman with silver hair and eyes like the depths of the ocean, stepped forward. Ella, she said, her voice carrying the rhythm of the tides, you have been chosen. The sea has accepted you as one of its guardians. Do you accept this sacred duty? Ella felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with a touch of fear. This was more than just deciding to stay in Ireland with Liam. It was committing to a life she barely understood, filled with magic and responsibility beyond anything she'd ever known. She looked at Liam, who nodded encouragingly. Then, taking a deep breath, Ella turned back to the Selkie elder. "I accept," she said, her voice strong and clear. The old woman smiled, revealing teeth as sharp as a seal's. She reached into a pouch at her waist and pulled out a necklace, a single pearl suspended on a chain of intricately woven seaweed. "This is your talisman," she explained, placing it around Ella's neck. "It will help you navigate between the worlds of land and sea." As soon as the necklace touched Ella's skin, she felt a surge of energy course through her body. Her senses sharpened, and she became acutely aware of every drop of water in the air, every grain of sand beneath her feet. The Selkie elder stepped back, and the circle parted. "Welcome, sister," they chanted in unison before slipping back into the sea. Liam took Ella's hand, his eyes shining with pride and love. "Are you ready for your first lesson?" he asked. Ella nodded eagerly. "What do I need to do?" "Close your eyes," Liam instructed. "Feel the rhythm of the waves, the pull of the tides. Let it flow through you, become a part of you." Ella did as he said, focusing on the ebb and flow of the water. At first, nothing happened. But then, slowly, she began to feel a change. Her skin tingled, and her body felt lighter, more fluid. "Open your eyes," Liam whispered. Ella gasped. Her legs had transformed into a sleek, powerful tail. She was a Selkie, just like the others. Liam, too, had changed, his lower body now that of a dolphin. He grinned at her amazement. "Race you to the reef?" he challenged playfully. With a laugh of pure joy, Ella dove into the waves, reveling in her new form. As she swam alongside Liam, marveling at the underwater world now open to her, she knew she had made the right choice. The months that followed were a whirlwind of learning and adventure. Ella absorbed everything Liam and the other guardians taught her, from the ancient songs that could calm storms to the secret paths that led to hidden realms beneath the waves. She discovered powers she never knew she possessed, the ability to communicate with sea creatures, to sense changes in the weather, to heal injuries with the touch of her hand. With each new skill mastered, Ella felt more at home in this magical world. But it wasn't all wonder and excitement. As Liam had warned, there were those who sought to exploit or destroy the delicate balance of magic and nature. Ella found herself facing dangers she could never have imagined in her old life. There were battles with dark sorcerers who tried to enslave the Selkie population, tense negotiations with human governments to protect endangered marine habitats, and harrowing rescues of magical creatures caught in the crossfire of human conflicts. Through it all, Liam was by her side, her partner in every sense of the word. Their love deepened with each shared adventure, each obstacle overcome together. Ella couldn't imagine a life without him, without the purpose and passion she'd found as a guardian of the sea. 1 year to the day after Ella had first arrived in Ireland, Liam took her back to the hidden cove where their journey had begun. As the sun set, painting the sky in familiar hues of orange and pink, he knelt before her on the smooth pebbles. "Ella," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "this past year has been the most extraordinary of my life. You've brought light and laughter to my world in ways I never thought possible. Will you marry me and be my partner for all the adventures to come?" Tears of joy sprang to Ella's eyes as she pulled him to his feet. "Yes," she whispered, sealing her answer with a kiss. As if in celebration, the water around them began to glow, and Selkies emerged from the waves. They formed a circle around the couple, singing an ancient blessing in their haunting, otherworldly voices. Ella looked out at the sea, then back at Liam. She thought of the life she'd left behind, the safe, predictable path she'd always followed. It seemed like a lifetime ago. Here, in this magical realm between land and sea, she had found her true self. She had discovered a world of wonder, a love beyond her wildest dreams, and a purpose that filled her soul. As the Selkie song reached its crescendo, Ella and Liam dove into the glowing waters hand in hand. They swam out towards the horizon, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them. Ella knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be challenges to face, battles to fight, and difficult choices to make. But with Liam by her side and the magic of the sea in her heart, she was ready for anything. As they swam, Ella reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She thought of that moment on the cliff when she'd stood at the edge of her old life, ready to take a leap into the unknown. She could never have imagined where that leap would lead her. Life, she realized, was a lot like the sea. Vast, mysterious, and full of hidden depths. And like the sea, it required respect, courage, and a willingness to dive in headfirst. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared beneath the waves, Ella and Liam transformed, their human forms melting away into sleek, powerful shapes, perfectly adapted to life in the ocean. Together, they swam towards the deepening blue, guardians of a world few would ever see, but whose magic touched every living thing. And so Ella's greatest adventure continued, an endless journey of love, magic, and discovery. She had found her true home, not in any one place, but in the vast, ever-changing realm of the sea, and in the heart of the man who had shown her its wonders.